Greetings everyone, my name is Aditti Sharma. I'm a second year microbiology student at Ferguson College, Pune, and my topic for today's presentation is genetics behind sexual orientation. I'll begin by why I chose this topic. We all are aware of the lack of acceptance of the LGBTQ plus community in our society. They are considered to be different and unnatural, and a lot of discrimination is done against them. According to me, one of the main reasons behind this is that the common people don't have a lot of knowledge about this topic and they have formed preconceived notions on homosexuality. For example, they consider it as a mental disease for which doctors have to find a cure. It is something that came from Western world and is not native to India. Therefore, it is against Indian culture. The change in food habits and use of drugs promote homosexuality. And lastly, it is not natural because two females or two males will not be able to reproduce and give rise to progeny for the continuation of species. Before moving on to the main part of the topic, I'll quickly explain a few terms which are a prerequisite for the better understanding. Starting with what is sexual orientation and the factors influencing it. A general feeling of attraction one may have towards male, female, or both the sexes is known as sexual orientation. Human sexual orientation is a complex trait and is influenced by a lot of factors, for example, genetic, sociocultural, experiential, and biological. Coming to homosexuality, it is a type of sexual orientation wherein a person is attracted to other person of same gender. Across cultures, 2 to 10% people report to have same-sex behavior, and despite these high numbers, it is considered to be an anomalous choice. Also, biologists have documented homosexual behavior in 450 species and are firm believers that this may in fact play a vital role within populations. Some philosophers believe that sex is not just male or female, rather, it is a continuum that emerges from a person's genetic makeup. What is meant by sexual continuum is that gender cannot be classified into just three or four groups, rather, there are infinite possible plots and label combos. For example, a person may be straight, gay, pansexual, asexual, bisexual, transgender, lesbian, etc. Therefore, gender cannot be just restricted to two or three groups. Here I have inserted a picture which is a graph that shows the proportion of homosexual people in different countries according to different surveys conducted by various organizations. This shows that a fair proportion of the populations show non-heterosexual behavior. Coming to the main part of the presentation, that is, do our genes determine our sexual orientation? So, hunt for the so-called gay genes began in 1993 when Dean Hamer linked homosexuality to a section of X chromosomes. What he did was he interviewed 76 pairs of gay brothers and found out that homosexuality seemed to be inherited through maternal line. This led him to study X chromosome that came from mother. Finally, he discovered a genetic marker, which is a patch of DNA called XQ28, which, according to him, was responsible for homosexual behavior. Although his findings were later on proved to be incorrect, but they marked the starting of the studies involving the link between genes and homosexuality and inspired many other scientists. The next study was examination of twins by psychologist Michael Bailey of Northwestern University. It was found that among identical twins, if one was gay, other had 50% chance of also being gay, and among fraternal twins, these chances were 20%. At first glance, these results seem to suggest that homosexuality must not be genetic because identical twins have same genes, right? However, Blockland found the solution to this question. He was inspired by the studies of both Hamer and Bailey, and he collected DNA from two pairs of identical twins. He decided not to look at the DNA where it is functional, but to look where it is switched off. What this means is that there is a process called methylation which turns off DNA at certain sections of genetic code. So even if we inherit two copies of every gene, one from mother and one from father, whether the gene is methylated or not often determines which of the two genes will be turned on. Methylation is inherited just as DNA is. It has no built-in checks to minimize errors like DNA has and is influenced by environment or diet. So this picture shows that DNA is methylated in which methyl groups are attached to the DNA. He therefore concluded that identical twins have same DNA, but the activity of genes is not necessarily the same because of the methylation of DNA, as I explained earlier. He also looked at the areas that Hamer had highlighted to a greater detail and pointed out that there is no single gay gene, that is, there is no single switch for sexual orientation. This finding of Blockland was supported by the largest survey that has been conducted um, on this particular topic, that is, if the genes are linked to homosexuality or not, by Andrea Ganna, who, along with his colleagues, performed a genome-wide association study and examined data from around 500,000 people of the United States and United Kingdom. They concluded that genes account for 8 to 25% of same-sex behavior and also found four genetic loci on chromosomes 7, 11, 12, and 15. Out of these, two variants were specified to men who reported homosexual behavior. One, a cluster of DNA on chromosome 15, which had previously been found to predict male baldness pattern, and another variant on chromosome 11, which sat in a region rich in olfactory receptors. So Ghana noted that olfaction is thought to play a large role in sexual attraction. Overall, he said that the findings reinforce the idea that human sexual behavior is complex and cannot be picked on any simple constellation of DNA. Also, there were debates that do genetic factors actually play a role in determining homosexuality? Because the presence of these factors contradicts the Darwinian prediction, according to which natural selection should progressively eliminate the factors that reduce individual fecundity and fitness. But fecundity just means the ability to reproduce. However, three scientists, Camperio Ciani, Corna, and Papillopi, found a possible explanation from it. They suggested that genetic factors that are partially linked to X chromosomes and influence homosexual orientation, if found in women, make them more fertile, and if found in men, make them more likely to be gay. So there is sort of a compensation for the less fertility of male by the more fertility of females. Other genetic factors that contribute to homosexuality include androgen insensitivity syndrome, wherein males with this genetic conditions can develop female genitalia and are usually brought up as girls despite being genetically male with an X and Y chromosome, and they are attracted to men. So what this suggests is that testosterone is needed to masculinize a prenatal brain. So if it doesn't happen, the child will grow up to desire men. The second is congenital adrenal hyperplasia, in which girls who have this genetic condition are exposed to unusually high levels of male hormones in the womb, which may masculinize brain and increase the odds of lesbianism. Similarly, it is also possible that hormonal shifts during pregnancy could affect how fetus's brain is configured. This image shows the chromosomes of um, androgen insensitivity syndrome, and this one is for the congenital adrenal hyperplasia. Coming to why do we need more research on this topic? It is because sexual orientation is a very important human trait, and we should study it without any fear or political constraint. I believe that the more controversial a topic is, the more we should invest in acquiring unbiased knowledge, and science is the best way for acquiring that. Also, sexual selection defines evolution and creation, which is such a major player in determining society, and we have no idea how it works. Therefore, a greater research is demanded on this topic. Lastly, I would like to say that while there is no single gay gene, as we have seen earlier, there is an overwhelming evidence of a biological basis for sexual orientation that is programmed into the brain before birth based on mix of genetics and prenatal conditions, none of which the fetus chooses. These are the references and links from which I have taken the data. Thank you.